This video is an overview of IS-7 line. All these Soviet heavy tanks have excellent armor, great mobility and very solid guns. Most of these tanks are frontline brawlers and they are quite easy to play. So if you are just starting your Blitz career and you don't have much experience, you probably should consider starting with this line because it would be the most enjoyable experience for you. So let's see what we have here. At tier 5 we have KV-1, and this tank is a legend. When Germany invaded Soviet Union, many German tanks have issues penetrating the armor of KV-1 and they had to call for artillery to assist them in bringing those tanks down. This fact is actually reflected in the game. KV-1 has very solid armor. The only thing that you should know is that many surfaces are flat, so you should be angling your tank to increase armor efficiency. The gun that you should be using is F-30, which is a 85mm gun. You should be able to penetrate most of your opponents, even with regular AP rounds. But the thing about this gun is that it's not very precise, and this would be the continuing theme for the Soviet heavy tanks. They would get guns with good penetration, good alpha, but bad dispersion. But it's not actually a big problem for these tanks because they're frontline brawlers. They are supposed to be at the spear of the attack, and so they will be shooting at short ranges, and at short ranges dispersion is not very important. At tier 6 we have KV-1S, which is a kind of transitional tank between KV and IS tanks. So initially you start with KV, but as soon as you research more and more modules, it turns into the IS tank. In case you don't know, KV and IS are initials of two people. KV stands for Kliment Voroshilov, which is a famous Soviet general, and IS stands for Joseph Stalin, which is famous Soviet dictator. And another thing that you maybe don't know is that Stalin is not his real second name. He was born in Georgia and his actual surname is Drugashvili, so he's not Russian at all. But let's get back to the tank. In its fully researched form, it gets another turret and 122mm gun, which is absolutely awesome because it has huge alpha damage. The downside of this gun is that reload time is pathetic, so basically after each shot you have to take some cover and literally wait until it reloads. And another problem with that gun is that it's very imprecise. So if you want to hit anything, you have to get close to your target and literally shoot it right in the face. On the positive note, you have really nice high explosive shells because they would do a lot of damage to the lightly armored tanks. So yeah, it's quite fun tank to play, especially at this tier. At tier 7 we have IS tank, and this tank is literally improved version of fully researched KV-1S tank. The major improvement is increase in rate of fire by 0.8 seconds, but it's really noticeable. You spend much less time reloading and sitting behind the cover. Otherwise the gun is exactly the same, it has the same terrible dispersion, so you should fight at really close range. The playstyle is classic pick-a-boom, so you take your shot, hide for a load, and then again get in front of the enemy, put that 400 alpha damage shell right into the face and hide for a load. Be careful though, because at this tier the armor is not that great and many tanks start to penetrate you frontally, so you should be trading shots, but you should be doing it carefully, making sure that you are not overexposed. At tier 8 you get an awesome upgrade. IS-3 is probably one of the best tanks tier for tier in this game. It has excellent armor and it has excellent gun. So let's start with the armor. First of all, at the front you get what's called the pike nose. Basically you have two pre-angled frontal plates. So when you are driving straight at your enemy, they won't be able to penetrate them because they're angled horizontally and vertically, and most likely they would bounce off them. The sides are also very solid. You have spaced armor at the sides, and you bounce a lot of shells from enemy tanks. Even from the rear plate you could bounce something. So the armor profile is extremely good. Turret is also very solid piece of armor. Basically, many other tanks, they have those commander cupolas, which are typically weak spots. IS-3 has none of it. It has rather thin plate at the top of the turret, but opponents could see that plate only when they are above IS-3. So if IS-3 is slightly above them, they have just no chance to hit that plate. So when IS-3 goes hull down, it becomes really impenetrable to many tanks it sees on the battlefield, basically most of them. So this tank is really good. And the gun you should be using on this tank is BL9. It has the same 400 alpha, but penetration, rate of fire and precision becomes better than what you had before. So let me repeat this. Don't miss this tank. It's one of the best tanks in the game and you will really enjoy it. Just make sure that you will get BL9. At tier 9 you will get IS-8, and most likely you will be disappointed. And the reason for that is that your armor becomes only slightly better, and in some places it's actually worse. But now you see tier 9 and tier 10 vehicles, and they have very dangerous guns, so the armor becomes quite inadequate. Basically those frontal plates become thick only by 10 millimeters, and the turret becomes even worse because it has less armor and it has those commander cupolas which could be penetrated relatively easily. The only good thing about this tank is the gun. The gun upgrade is really nice. You have heat rounds as a premium ammunition, and they could penetrate literally everything. So they're really nice rounds. And I believe the gun becomes a bit more precise. But anyways, you can't brawl in this tank with other heavy tanks. So your role on the battlefield becomes more like support, maybe running with mediums, and you really should avoid trading shots with other tanks because they often would penetrate you. So it will take some time to adjust to this tank. The piece of advice, the crucial piece of advice here is that use free XP to get that top gun. Don't drive with BL9 because it becomes a bit inadequate, at when you see tier 10 tanks in the game. So you must use free experience to research all modules for this tank to be more effective. And otherwise the grind would be very painful. I did a mistake grinding it, and I had maybe even less than 50% win rate in this tank. But in fully researched form, and when you play cautiously, this tank is quite good. So you just have to adjust to this tank. And finally, at tier 10 we have IS-7, which is the last Soviet heavy tank. It was not produced, only the prototype was built. It was also known as T-10 heavy tank. By the end of the war, it was clear that heavy tanks are obsolete as a class, and Soviet Union and other countries were producing only medium and light tanks. This tank is really good because it feels mostly like IS-3 but at tier 10. So it has that solid impenetrable turret now without the weak plate at the top. The turret is really good. I mean, there are just few select guns which could penetrate it frontally at the cheeks, and they also have to connect that shot and really hit that small area in the center of the turret to actually penetrate it with premium ammunition. And otherwise this turret is just totally red to most of the other tanks, even then they choose to shoot premium ammunition at IS-7. So the turret is really awesome. The hull is also quite good. Again, you have the pike nose. It became even thicker. Yes, you have spaced armor on the sides, and even rear plate is very bouncy. So the armor is so good that many people become very frustrated with IS-7s because they see that they could penetrate it, but many shells just bounce or do zero damage, and people just start raging at that tank and calling it a Soviet bias. But really it's just about well angled, well spaced, and just good overall armor of the tank. It's really good. There are no flat surfaces. It's designed really well. The gun is quite average. It's 130 millimeters, and it could penetrate most of the targets. It shoots APCR rounds as premium ammunition. It can penetrate frontal plate of E100 when it's flat, but otherwise the penetration is a bit weak. But again, the tank is very good, and it's quite easy to play, especially when you don't have much experience. So the way you play this tank is really simple. You just drive to the front line. You should find some cover for your lower hull plate because it's kind of weak spot. It's just below the pike nose, and essentially you have to go a bit hull down. And when you become hull down, you are mostly impenetrable to your opponents, and you just lock direction. You stop the advance. But you should also care about support, that you have some guns behind you and you won't be cycled. Even if they would manage to get to your side, they still won't have easy shots at you because your sides are rather thick and it's hard to penetrate sides of IS-7 at angle. So it's really good tier 10 tank, and it's definitely worth the grind. So I hope this overview was interesting and helpful to you. So if you are a new player, I highly recommend you to grind this line, and I hope that you would enjoy it. So good luck on the battlefield. See you there. Bye.